Today, we're diving into India's National Education Policy 2020. And look, this isn't just some small tweak to this system. It's a complete reimagining of how an entire generation is going to learn. And it all starts with one really powerful question.
Right off the bat, the policy asks something that gets to the very heart of education. What are we actually trying to do here? Is school all about memorizing facts just to pass a test? Or is it about building the skills to go out and tackle the world's real messy problems?
And that's exactly what the National Education Policy, or NEP-2020, is all about. It's this massive new roadmap designed to shift the entire focus for more than 240 million students. Think about that number. It's huge. And the goal is to move them from just rote learning to truly understanding.
Now, to get a sense of just how big of a deal this is, you have to understand the context. The last major education policy was written in 1986. I mean, think about that. That was a world before the internet was a thing, before smartphones, before AI was in everything. The world is completely different now, and this new policy is built for this world, the one we actually live in.
So how is it all going to work? Well, the first big change is structural. They're basically tearing down the old 10+2 system that's been around forever, and in its place is a new blueprint that's actually designed around how a child's brain develops.
And here it is, the new 5+3+3+4 structure. First, you've got the foundational stage, for kids aged 3 to 8. This is all about play, discovery, and getting curious. Then, you move to the preparatory stage, which focuses on more structured discovery. After that, the middle stage brings in more abstract ideas. And finally, the secondary stage, where students get to pick subjects based on what they're actually interested in, not just being forced into rigid science or commerce streams.
And this quote really gets to the philosophy behind that first stage. It's just common sense, right? A 5-year-old isn't built to sit still and just repeat facts. Their brains are wired to learn through play, through activity, through curiosity. It's a huge shift in mindset right from the very beginning.
And that idea leads us straight into the core principles of the whole policy. This is about a massive shift away from passive learning, just sitting and listening, and towards active, hands-on doing.
The first pillar has a fancy name, experiential learning. But really, it's a super simple idea. You learn by doing. The whole point is to close that giant gap between reading about something in a book and actually, truly getting how it works in the real world. Let's make this real. The old way to learn about photosynthesis? You'd memorize the definition from a textbook, probably to just spit it back out on an exam. The new way? So much cooler. You actually plant seeds. You watch them grow. You experiment, see what happens with sunlight and without it, and then you learn the science behind what you just saw. Now, which student do you think really understands photosynthesis? It's a no-brainer. So that's the whole point. Learning stops being something that just happens in your head. It becomes physical. It's something you can see and touch and build. You're testing ideas for yourself, not just reading about someone else's, and that's what makes it stick.
Okay, next up is interdisciplinary learning. Think about it. Real-world problems never fit into neat little boxes like math problem or history problem, do they? They're all mixed up. This principle says that schools should be like that too. It's about breaking down those walls between subjects.
So for example, instead of learning geography in one class and science in another and math in a third, a student might work on a single project about climate change. They'd use geography to understand the places affected, science to get the carbon cycle, and math to analyze the data. All of a sudden, these subjects aren't separate anymore. They're tools you use together to solve a real problem.
The third big idea is capability-based learning. And honestly, this is a real game changer. It shifts the entire goal away from just finishing the syllabus. Instead, it asks a much more important question. Can you actually use what you've learned? And the difference is just night and day. The old goal might have been, get 95% on the grammar test. The new goal is, can you write a clear email that actually gets your point across? Can you stand up and give a presentation that persuades people? It's about having real-world skills, not just high marks.
And that idea goes even deeper. The policy is really focused on skills that prepare students for life, recognizing that great exam scores are only one small part of being a successful person.
This is all part of what's called holistic development. What that really means is we're finally saying that subjects like music, art, and sports are not extracurriculars anymore. They are essential. The policy values the kid who's a brilliant coder or an amazing artist just as much as the one who aces their algebra test. All these strengths are equally important.
And one of the coolest, most out-of-the-box ideas to make this happen is the 10-day bag-free period. This is literally a time when students in middle school drop their school bags and step out of the classroom.
So what do? They spend those 10 days as interns with local professionals. Carpenters, farmers, coders, potters. This isn't just about learning a new skill. It's about building confidence, seeing how things work, and realizing, hey, I can actually do this. I can solve problems.
The policy also takes a fresh look at subjects we thought we knew, like math. It's reframing it. It's not just about crunching numbers anymore. It's a way of thinking. It's about training your brain to find patterns, to reason, and to think logically. This is exactly the kind of thinking that's going to power the future in fields like data science and AI.
Of course, having a visionary plan is one thing, but actually making it happen for an entire country? Well, that's another story completely. So let's talk about the road ahead, because this is where the policy meets reality, and it starts with the massive challenge of assessment.
If you're going to change how kids learn, you have to change how you test them too. So instead of asking, what is a lever, which just checks if you memorize the definition, the new kind of assessment might be, show me. Show me how a lever can help you lift something heavy. One tests memory, the other tests real understanding.
But here's the massive challenge. It's one thing to grade a multiple-choice test for millions of students. A computer can do that. It is exponentially harder to fairly and consistently assess a student's critical thinking or collaboration skills on that kind of scale. This transformation isn't just about printing new textbooks. It requires a monumental investment in retraining an entire generation of teachers and getting schools the resources they need to make it all work.
And ultimately, the entire policy really boils down to this one simple but incredibly profound distinction. We are trying to move from a system that rewards knowing things to one that actually cultivates the ability to think critically, creatively, and for yourself.
And that leaves us with this final fascinating question to chew on. The goal here isn't just to change the subjects students learn, but to fundamentally change how they think. So what happens to a country, and even to the world, when an entire generation is raised not just to remember the right answers, but to solve the problems that don't have answers yet? Now that is a future worth thinking about.